Okay, what I'm going to show on this screen is the failure to tune properly on the 80 meter band, and I believe it's because the antenna is very narrow on the 80 meter band compared to 40 and 20, and therefore when it scans to try to find the resonant frequency, it misses it because it's so narrow. So let me show you how this is going to work. So I'm at 3950, we're tuned, everything's good, and I'm just going to start dropping the frequency by whoops, 39, 30, there you go, 3900. So we'll go by 50 kilohertz. Okay, I'm going to hit the enter key, and it has scanned and found the correct thing, and it's retuned. That's all working. We're going to go to 3850, and that should also work. Well, that one didn't work. Sometimes it doesn't work on the first key because of this buffer issue that I was describing earlier. And 3850, no problem. 3800, that was, here we go, that all looks good, no problem. 38 or 3750, that all looks good. There we go. 3750. So clearly it has the ability to detect the resonant points on all of these frequencies. Okay, so now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to start over again. Let's see if we can get back to 3950 here. So let's try. I think, well, that's not going to work from this one. If I step up in increments of 20 kilohertz, I can get back. Okay, I'm just going to bump it up by 20 kilohertz and make our way back up to 3950. This may take a few minutes. And it doesn't always catch on the first enter key due to that buffering issue I was describing earlier. That one didn't get it. Okay, we're going to do that over again here. There we go. Now we got it. And again, we'll do it again. Missed it. Okay, looks like it's going to work maybe. Oh. Okay, we failed out. All right, so let's repeat that whole procedure, and then I'm going to move from 3750 to 3950, and it's going to fail. Then I'm going to move from, I'll reset it, and then we'll go from 3800 to 3950, and it'll work. All right, so I'm going to reset. So the way I reset this thing is if you look over here at the frequency, what I'm doing is I'm going to press the backslash key, or the forward slash key. It wants a frequency. I usually put in about 5 megahertz. Okay, and then I press the number 9 key, and you can see the motor's moving. It's opening the capacitor, and I'm watching the SWR, and as soon as that moves, then I know that oh, there it is. Okay, so now I know I'm greater than 5 megahertz resonant, so then I hit the back arrow key, back into normal mode. I'm going to hit the enter key, and it should tune to 3950, but it won't, because it's going to scan the frequency and see that I'm a little bit above 5 megahertz, and since I entered 5 megahertz, even though the serial data is sending a different frequency, it's still going to go to the 5 megahertz. So here we go, we're going to hit enter, and okay, so it thought it was at 30 megahertz, and now oh, okay, it made a liar out of me this time. Normally it tunes to the frequency that I set when I manually moved it. Okay, so 3940, we're not at 3940. Why are we at, oops, yeah, we are. Okay, 3950, let's go there. All right, we're going to repeat what we just did. Do it again, because it doesn't always take it. Okay, now I can go down to 3750, and it will work. Now, what's happening, you notice over here, is it was at 30 megahertz once again, but because it's moving the capacitor in the right direction, in this case, it's going to be able to find the resonant point. Okay, now if I try to go back to 3950, it's not going to let me do that. So I'm going to hit that, and it's going to, if you look over here, it says 30 megahertz, but because the motor's over here at 3750, it's going to drive it to a lower frequency because it thinks it's resonating at 30 megahertz, and hence we get the motor fail issue. Now, what's happened is it hasn't tuned the antenna. It almost indicates that it has, oh wait, no, it's still at 3750. Got to do it again. All right, one more time. This thing is intermittent. All right, so 30 megahertz and motor fail. All right, so that's typical. So going down in frequency, it's fine, but coming back from a low frequency to a high frequency, it's not fine. It fails. And I believe it's because when it scans, it does not see the resonant at 3750, but I'm going to show you that at 3800 it will work. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to recover from this, and I'm going to go back to 5 megahertz, manually move the motor, which is what I got to do all the time with this thing. All right, so I'm down on the key, I'm moving the motor, watching the SWR. As soon as the SWR moves, and I know I'm above 5 megahertz, there we go, right there. Go back to normal mode, and we're going to go to 3950, and hopefully it'll tune. No, this is where I went to 5 megahertz, even though the serial port was asking for a different frequency. All right, I hit it again. Okay, now we're going to go to 3950. It should have gone to 3950 on the first shot. Okay, now I'm going to go down to 3800. Okay, here we go. And hopefully it all works. So it thinks it's at 30, it's going down, and it finds 3800. That's great. Now, it's going to do something now that it would not do from 3750. And I know both of these frequencies, it can detect the resonant point. So we're back at 3950. All right, so this thing's going to go up in frequency. All right, it would not do this from 3750, but it'll do it from 3800. Here we go. Enter key is in. It detected 3800 properly and going to 3950. So when it does this scan to figure out where it's at, it's so fast that I believe because of the narrow bandwidth of the antenna, it's missing the resonant point. I mean, I keep hearing that it's my coax or that it's something else, but if that's the case, then I believe that the phenomenon that I just demonstrated would work in both directions. In other words, it would fail in both directions, going down in frequency and coming back in frequency. But in this case, it's failing when I go from a low frequency to a high frequency. And I'm seeing that whenever I move away from 80 meters and go to, let's say, 80 to 40 or 80 to 20 or 80, even inside of 80, I have problems. And so I believe it's because of the narrow nature of the antenna, and the resonant scanning routine is moving too quickly, or it's taking too large of steps to find it, because this does not happen on 40 and 20. So that's basically a demonstration of the phenomenon that I've been fighting here ever since I got this antenna.